Hello there everyone, my name is CM Freeze, and if you've clicked on this video, then odds are you are a big Atlanta Falcons fan. Or maybe you just like sports in general, and you want to see an Atlanta Falcons fan and talk about why he doesn't think his team is going to be very good next year. Now, I would say that there are two types of Atlanta Falcons fans. There are Atlanta Falcons fans that are very optimistic and always look on the bright side of things. And then there's Atlanta Falcons fans like me that are very pessimistic and always look at the bad. Why am I so pessimistic? Why am I not looking forward to this team in the 2025 season? Tell you frankly right now, if the Atlanta Falcons win a playoff game, I would be stunned. I think that there's almost no shot that we win a playoff game. Maybe, just maybe, we can sneak in as a wild card team, or maybe even win our division, because I don't really think the Saints or the Panthers will be that good. Who knows with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well? Maybe they'll win the division again. It's kind of hard to say right now. But I do not have faith that we are winning a playoff game at all in the 2025 season, and I think that there's a good chance we could even miss the playoffs entirely. That is kind of what this video is about, is how I believe that the 2024 Atlanta Falcons team has really screwed over the 2025 Atlanta Falcons team. And this is definitely a year where we aren't rebuilding, but we are just developing our young talent and hoping that they can all take a step forward so that next year we can add pieces around that young core and have a really special team. Now, why don't the Atlanta Falcons just add talent around their young core this season? Obviously, last season, the Atlanta Falcons went 8-9. Michael Penix Jr. looked good in the 3 games he was there. Drake London took a step up. Bijan Robinson took a step up. We got some core young pieces. Why not go compete for the division this season? Well, let's get into how the Atlanta Falcons of the 2024 season screwed over the Atlanta Falcons in the 2025 season, and why I am not looking forward to the team this year. After the Super Bowl concludes, it is technically the start of the 2025 NFL season, even though the 2025 NFL season doesn't officially start until March 12th. After the Super Bowl, the very first thing that teams can do is sign their free agents. These are the players that are not under contract for the team in the following season, but were under contract for them during the current season. So in this case, the Atlanta Falcons have a couple of players that were on the roster in the 2024 season that are not under contract for the 2025 season and will become unrestricted free agents unless the Atlanta Falcons re-sign them before the start of March 12th. Well, the Atlanta Falcons don't have that many free agents that they cannot afford to lose. They still do have multiple starters that are unrestricted free agents and are probably going to hit free agency, or that the Atlanta Falcons need to re-sign in order to keep them on the team. The biggest one, and the only starter on offense, is center Drew Dalman. Drew Dalman has actually been a great center for the Atlanta Falcons over the last couple of years. As you can see there, we drafted him in the 4th round in the 2021 NFL Draft. He's actually been a really good center for us. While he's not Alex Mack, for some of you older Atlanta Falcons fans that remember just how good Alex Mack was for us, he was our center when we made it to the Super Bowl, Drew Dalman has been incredibly good for us, especially in the run game. He's a phenomenal run blocker. His pass blocking is probably average, but you have one of the best run blocking centers in the league with average pass blocking ability. You have a pretty good center. He's definitely our biggest free agent that we definitely would prefer to bring back. It's reported that Drew Dalman will probably need a contract of about $15 million a season, so keep in mind that's $15 million that needs to go to Drew Dalman right there. Now, the rest of the offense, the rest of the starters are actually set to come back. So like I said, Drew Dalman is our only offensive starter that's going to be a free agent, but he's also our biggest one as well. The defense is where things definitely get a little bit interesting here for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, defensively, as you can see here, the Atlanta Falcons have quite a number of defensive players that are set to become free agents. Some of the biggest ones that you can see there are Matthew Judon, who we traded a 3rd round pick for just last year. There's also Mike Hughes, who has been our corner 2 next to AJ Terrell. There's also D. Alfred, who has been our nickel corner or our slot corner. Then there's also Justin Simmons, who we signed in free agency as well, who is our starting strong safety. And then there's also some other key role players as well, such as Eddie Goldman, Kadarius Street, Taquan Graham, all guys that didn't get a lot of reps for the team, but still were key rotational players. Also Lorenzo Carter as well, Richie Grant, and Nate Landman. All players who, again, weren't starters necessarily, but good role players, and when someone was hurt, they did become starters. That's 4 starters and a couple of role players on defense that are all set to hit free agency. Now, out of all these guys, the only players that I actually really want the team to bring back is Matthew Judon, but not on a big contract. I saw a report that said I think a really good contract for Matthew Judon would be a low base salary, but a very high incentive contract. Matthew Judon only had 5.5 sacks last year, which trading a third round pick for 5.5 sacks is not that good, but I would still want him around because odds are the Atlanta Falcons are going to be drafting defense in the NFL draft, probably defensive line. I would be shocked if the Falcons don't take a defensive lineman with their high draft picks that they have. I'd be stunned if it's not defensive line with their high draft picks. So I think bringing back Matthew Judon on a low base salary, high incentives, so it doesn't really go that much towards the salary cap, would be great for both the Falcons and Matthew Judon. Everyone else, though, I'm kind of fine with walking. Mike Hughes has been serviceable. The Alfred has been serviceable. Justin Simmons is not what Justin Simmons used to be, but still serviceable. Do you see an issue with a lot of what I'm saying right now? A lot of the Falcons starters this season were serviceable. Not good, but serviceable, average. We have a bunch of average defenders on this defense, and having a bunch of average guys and not a lot of star power does not make for a good combination. So I would actually be fine with a lot of these guys walking. The issue with that is obviously that means that we are going to have to sign a lot of players as well, or I'm sure we're going to want to bring back some of these guys as well. But we're going to have a lot of holes on the defense that we need to also fill in free agency as well. I see that we're definitely going to need 1 or 2 pieces on the defensive line. Definitely going to need a linebacker as well. And we could even need 2, potentially 3 players in the secondary as well. So if you add all that up, that's about 7 or 8 players that we need. If you look at it from a starting perspective, the Atlanta Falcons are probably going to switch to a 4-3 with our new defensive coordinator. So on the edge, let's get rid of all the guys that are free agents, right? Here are the guys that we for sure know are coming back to the Atlanta Falcons. We have Arnold Ebiketie at the edge, then Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, and Rukaroro as our defensive tackle. Then as our linebackers, we have Caden Ellis, and we have Troy Anderson and J.D. Bethard. And then in the secondary, we have A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, DeMarco Helms, Clark Phillips. Not that many guys, we're going to need another edge rusher. Like I said, probably 2. We're going to need another linebacker. And we're going to need another safety. And we're going to need another corner or 2. That's 6 people that we're going to need on the defense. So we need to bring back Drew Dahlman, and there's 6 slots in our defense that we need to fill as well. A mixture of every single position. We can upgrade at every position on the defense. Our only bona fide starters on the defense are Jesse Bates at safety and A.J. Terrell at corner. That's about it. Everyone else on the defense is replaceable, and we could get better at them. I really like Caden Ellis and what he's brought to the table for us, and Arnold Ebiketie is a nice young talent for us too, but it's not like they're superstars. Let's not pretend that they're absolute game changers like Terrell and Jesse Bates are. Jesse Bates and Terrell are in a whole nother league, and everyone else is in a league below them, at least on the Atlanta Falcons defense. So now that I've gone over the exact holes that the Atlanta Falcons have, and that they have free agents that they need to sign, let's look at what the Atlanta Falcons have to spend with. Because like I said, there are 6 spots that we need, either through re-signing our own guys or going and signing guys in free agency to fill these 6 or 7 slots that are going to be leaving the team. So as you can see here, the Atlanta Falcons have -$5 million. -$5 million. So as it stands right now, the Atlanta Falcons actually don't have any money to bring back any free agent. I'm recording this video on Thursday, March 6th. Like I said, the league starts in less than a week, and the Atlanta Falcons have no money to sign any free agents. You see the issue with that. Like I said, there are about 7 holes, starting caliber holes. Players that are going to see significant time that we need to fill. That also doesn't include depth behind those players as well. We have 6 or 7 starting caliber holes that we need to fill, plus backups, and we're currently at negative $5 million. And I already know there are people that are going to say that the salary cap is a myth. I hate people that say that. I hate when people say, oh, you can just bait the salary cap. The salary cap isn't a myth. Look at what Kirk Cousins is doing to our salary cap right now. Kirk Cousins is destroying our salary cap. Kirk Cousins currently costs $40 million against our cap. If we were to cut Kirk Cousins right now, we would lose $40 million in dead money and save nothing. Kirk Cousins is costing us $40 million, and there's nothing we can do against that. There's no way that you can sit here and tell me that salary cap is a myth when the current salary cap is $290 mil and Kirk Cousins is taking up $40 mil of it. That's about 14% of our salary cap. 14% of our salary cap. Almost 1/7 of our salary cap, to put that into perspective. 1/7 of the total amount of money the Atlanta Falcons get is going to a backup quarterback. Even if we trade Kirk Cousins or cut Kirk Cousins, we still owe him that money. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? Kirk Cousins is getting $40 million from us no matter what we do. No matter what we do, Kirk Cousins is getting $40 million, 1/7 of our salary cap. That is 1/7 of our salary cap that we do not have to work with. 1/7 of a salary cap that every other team in the NFL gets to have. That's not us. We are at a 1/7 of a disadvantage for a player that isn't even going to start for us this season. That's bad. That's really, really bad. Salary cap does matter. Yes, the ways to get under the salary cap are either to cut or trade players or to restructure deals. In the past, the Atlanta Falcons have loved to restructure deals, and that's what a lot of teams do. Me personally, I hate restructuring contracts. I've seen it screw over the Atlanta Falcons for the last 7 years. After the Atlanta Falcons made the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan, they made him the highest paid player in NFL history at the time. Every single year after that year, they constantly kept on pushing back Matt Ryan's money to where his salary cap hit only was $30 million, but then they kept on pushing it back. So then it was $38 million, $40 million, eventually to the point where us cutting Matt Ryan and getting rid of Matt Ryan cost us astronomical amount of money because we kept on pushing back his money, pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back, saying, it's okay, we can push back this money now because we're going to use the money that we're saving to get better right now. And guess what? There's no guarantee you get better. So the Atlanta Falcons love to hand out these big contracts. But then another player like Jake Matthews, his money has constantly been pushed back. Constantly pushed back. To the point where, look at this now. Jake Matthews is costing $21 million against our cap this year. Next year, again, $21 million for Jake Matthews. We keep on pushing back Jake Matthews' contract, and even though we sign up for a deal less than $21 million, it's costing now more than $21 million because we keep on pushing back Jake Matthews' contract. Does that make sense? So if we continue to push back players' contract, well, yes, it might free up money this season, we're just screwing us for the previous season. So for this year, I don't want us to really restructure contracts. Now, taking a pay cut is one thing. That is a form of restructuring a contract. You could restructure a contract, and in essence, it's taking a pay cut. Players that I believe could do this are Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata. I could see both these guys being restructured dealed candidates to end up saving us money. But regardless, there's not that much we can actually do to save us a ton of money. And the big things that we can do to save up money, aka restructure contracts, just means that we're pushing back the money to 2026 and 2027. And why do we want to do that, man? We actually have a young core. We have Michael Penix Jr. We have Bijan Robinson. We have pieces on the offensive line. We have Drake London. We have Darnell Mooney. We have young pieces. We screwed ourselves because 1/7 of our salary cap is going to Kirk Cousins. Just suck it up. Do what the Denver Broncos did with Russell Wilson and just suck up and eat up that contract. Take this year to just not sign that many guys. The good thing about actually letting Drew Dalman walk in free agency is that because the Atlanta Falcons lose him, they should be able to pick up a compensatory third-round pick. What that means is teams that lose players that they draft to other teams in free agency end up getting a compensatory pick for it. Basically a free pick. A third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh. The Atlanta Falcons usually don't have a lot of these picks because we reward our guys. It's something I actually really like about the Atlanta Falcons is that if you do good for the Atlanta Falcons, we reward you. A lot of the times, Atlanta Falcons players who we draft that do good, we re-sign. Look at AJ Terrell. Look at how good we treated Matt Ryan. Look at Julio for the most part, besides the end. I mean, look at Julio Jones. Look at Calvin Ridley. All these guys that we gave contracts to, who we kept on the team. If you play good at Atlanta, we will reward you. And that is something that I do really like about this team. Unfortunately for Drew Dalman, even though he's playing really good for us, he needs $15 million and we have negative $5 million cap. So that's $20 million we have to make just to re-sign Drew Dalman. And like I said, guess what? There's 6 other holes that we have as well. Do you see the issue here? We have no money to fill these 6 or 7 slots. Sure, we can restructure a couple of contracts, which, like I said, I think stupid, but we will. There are some guys, though, that can be cut if you look at how much money they save here if you cut them post-June. Grady Jarrett's the big one to me. We cut Grady Jarrett, we save $16 million. And Grady Jarrett's on the last year of his deal anyways. I understand Atlanta Falcons fans really love him. I do too. He's been a staple of our defense for forever. But let's be frank here. Grady Jarrett's done nothing the last 2 seasons. Grady Jarrett's done nothing the last 2 seasons. I'm sorry, he hasn't. You look at David Onyemata. Cutting him saves us $10 million there as well. Even Caleb McGarry, who I understand you want to protect Michael Penix Jr., but McGarry's on the last year of his contract as well, and cutting him saves us $14 million too. Maybe we can extend him another year, and maybe he'll take a pay cut. So there are things that we can do to free up money. I'm not worried about us being over the salary cap. We'll definitely get under it. With all the moves that we can make, I think at best we can get ourselves to about 30 to 40 million. That's the absolute best that we can do is 30 to 40 million. And with 30 to 40 million and 6 or 7 roster slots, that's also not including our draft class that we have to re-sign as well. And the draft class is going to cost us an extra, $5 million as well. If you look at everything with we got our 6 or 7 roster slots and we got, 3 or 4 draft picks that we have to sign. On average, with 30 million and about 10 slots you got, that's only $3 million per player. You obviously aren't signing any big dogs with $3 million per player. Like I said, say we do the absolute best and we get ourselves to $40 million, but then Drew Dalman takes up $15 million. Guess what? We only have $25 million available and 6 or 7 roster slots. All these Atlanta Falcons fans thinking we're going to go trade for Trey Hendrickson, think we're going to get Joey Bosa, think we're going to get Myles Garrett. Guess what? That's another $20 million right there. So now we re-signed Dalman. We got Joey Bosa. We signed our draft class. We're going to only have $5 million left. Do you really think bringing back our center that we already have, our draft class and Joey Bosa is going to make us contenders? If you look at our team that we have right now, you're going to sit here and tell me that a draft class and 1 edge rusher is going to make us go from an 8-9 team to contenders. No, it's not. And like I said, that's best case scenario. Best case scenario. We re-sign our center, we get our draft picks, and we get 1 premium edge rusher. That's or premium defender, any side of the ball. That's best case scenario for the Atlanta Falcons. That can maybe get us an extra 2 wins. We can go to 10-7, maybe 11-6. Best case scenario. I don't see that happening. I really don't. I think the Atlanta Falcons are smart. They let Drew Dalman walk. They save their money. They get a compensatory pick for Drew Dalman, so they get an extra 3rd or 4th round pick next year. Save up their cap, and start to compete in 2026. One last thing I'd like to talk about. So obviously I've been talking about free agency, but there's also the NFL draft as well. So while the Atlanta Falcons are super low on salary cap, the other way to upgrade your roster besides signing free agents is through the NFL draft. This is where the Atlanta Falcons can bring in young talent that can start almost right away. So the Atlanta Falcons have almost no cap, right? Actually, negative $5 million in cap right now. Hopefully they actually have a lot of draft picks so that they can build up their roster through the draft and get a lot of young talent. Oh, the Atlanta Falcons actually only have 5 draft picks, the lowest amount of draft picks they've had in the last 10 years. Of those 5 picks, they have pick 15, they have pick 46, then they have a 4th rounder, and then they have 2 7ths. The other 7th round pick isn't showing on Tankathon because we are getting the worst of the 7th round picks from the Los Angeles Chargers, which we acquired from trading them Taylor Heineke. So we're going to get pick 15, pick 46, pick 117, and 2 7ths. While yes, the 7th round picks could technically turn into starting caliber players, it's really actually hard for me to take 2 7th round picks seriously. But again, there are teams that can turn 7th round picks into great players. But the odds that we draft a 7th rounder that's actually going to make a contribution to our team is very rare. So the only picks that I really look at seriously are pick 15, pick 46, and pick 117. I believe that pick 15 and pick 46 will go to people who are going to start right away. I am confident about that. Pick 15 and pick 46 are going to be starters, or at the very least going to be key rotational pieces. Now, our 4th round pick will probably be a project, but the Atlanta Falcons have actually been really good in the 4th round recently. Drew Dahlman was a 4th round pick, as we previously mentioned, and Clark Phillips was also selected in the 4th round. So we actually can draft some really good 4th round picks. So I actually have high hope for pick 117. But that's it. I'm looking at 3 draft picks that the Atlanta Falcons have that I have hopes can actually make a contribution to the team, and that's not even guaranteed. The odds that the Atlanta Falcons hit on all 3 of those picks are incredibly slim. Odds are they're only going to hit on 1 or 2 of them. So let's be generous and say the Atlanta Falcons hit on 2 of these picks. So, great. You see the issue here, right? We have no money to sign free agents, and we only have 5 draft picks, which is, I believe, the lowest out of any single team in the NFL draft. So I actually lied. I just looked at every single team's draft picks, and the Minnesota Vikings have less picks than us, but that's it. The Minnesota Vikings are the only team that have less picks than the Atlanta Falcons, so we are screwed. We have no draft picks, and we have no salary caps. Like I said, this year, don't go out and sign any big free agents and destroy the cap even more than it is. If, you know what, we want to trade down from 15 to acquire more picks, I'm totally fine with that. If we want to go trade Kyle Pitts for a 3rd round pick or Kirk Cousins for a 4th round pick, I'm fine with that too. There are things we can do to acquire more picks. I highly doubt we only have 5 picks. I wouldn't be surprised if we either trade away our 2nd round pick. I could see us doing that, trading down in the 2nd round. At pick 15, we probably do want to get a starter, but maybe we do trade down at pick 15 as well. I highly doubt we only have 5 picks in the NFL draft. I think we're definitely going to get more picks either from trading Kyle Pitts, Kirk Cousins, or trading down in the draft. Anyways, guys, that's the video. That's the whole reason why I'm not really looking forward to the 2025 season. Like I said, there are things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to see our young talent shine and continue to develop. But this is just kind of a season where we just have to let that young talent shine. I don't want to do anything to impede on that young talent. I don't want us to go out and trade away even more draft picks for a superstar, because in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to help that much. We need to get our salary cap fixed this year, and we just need to take a reset year to look at everything that we have, look at who is going to be on the roster for this 2026 team, because I actually do have hopes for this 2026 Atlanta Falcons roster. If Michael Penix Jr. can develop and continue to take steps up with Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Mooney, I think we can have a really good team in 2026. You just got to hope that the 2025 resume just doesn't screw us over. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave comments down below on if you agree or disagree with my takes. It means a lot to me, and peace out.